We're going to explore best practices for clearing the cache in Angular applications after a new deployment. Efficient cache clearing is crucial for ensuring users always see the latest version of your application. This is especially important after deploying updates, bug fixes, or new features. Here's what you need to know. 1. Versioning your application. The simplest and most effective method is to implement versioning in your application's file names or URLs. By appending a version number, for example, a timestamp or build number, to your application's assets, like JavaScript files, CSS files, and images, the browser will treat each deployment as a distinct version. This forces the browser to download the new files, bypassing the cached versions. This is a proactive approach, rather than relying on cache clearing mechanisms. 2. Leveraging browser caching headers. You can control how browsers cache your application's assets by using HTTP response headers. These headers can be configured on your web server. Setting appropriate cache control headers, like cache control, no cache, no store, must revalidate, prevents the browser from caching your application's files, thus ensuring every request fetches the latest version. However, this method is less efficient than versioning, as it relies on the browser respecting the headers and can be less friendly to users in situations with limited internet connectivity. Using proper ETag and last modified headers for efficient caching in between deployments is also a crucial part of this strategy. 3. Service worker considerations. If your Angular application uses service workers for features like offline capabilities or push notifications, you need to pay special attention to cache invalidation. Service workers manage a cache separate from the browser's standard cache. You'll need to implement a strategy within your service worker code to clear or update the cached assets on deployment. This often involves versioning your service worker itself and making sure your update process handles cache cleanup appropriately. Incorrectly handled service worker updates might lead to users getting old versions of your app. 4. CDN cache invalidation. If you are using a content delivery network, CDN, to host your application's assets, you need to invalidate the CDN cache after a deployment. CDNs have their own caching mechanisms. Failing to invalidate the CDN cache means users might still receive old versions of your application, even if your server has the updated files. The process for cache invalidation varies depending on the CDN provider. Check their documentation for instructions. 5. Testing thoroughly. After implementing any of these strategies, rigorously test your application deployment process across different browsers and devices. Ensure that the updated version is consistently loaded and that cached assets don't interfere with the user experience. It's crucial to test on different devices and browsers because caching behavior can vary. 6. User guidance, optional. While automatic mechanisms are preferred, you might consider adding a temporary notification or banner in your application's user interface immediately after a deployment. This notification can prompt users to refresh the page to ensure they're using the latest version. This is mainly for sensitive updates. Remember, a combination of these approaches is generally the most effective method for ensuring consistent access to the latest version of your Angular application. Choose the strategies that best suit your application's architecture and deployment process.